Okay, so it is 5 o'clock now. We can wait a couple of minutes for other people to join us, and then we will start. Welcome to those who have also attended the previous webinars. Welcome also to those who are participating for the first time. This is the third of a series of webinars that I organize. I developed together with my colleague Federica Leoni, who is not will not be with us today, but she was present in occasion of the previous two webinars, and that we are holding together with Indigo Volunteers, to which I feel very grateful for giving us this opportunity. Okay, someone is asking me to raise my voice a bit, please. Yes, I will do that. Thank you for telling me. Is that okay? Okay. So I feel a little bit emotional in this moment, because each time I prepare things that I want to share with people, especially with you, that many of you are working in field work in very challenging conditions, and I want to share and to offer the best I can. So this sometimes it is a little bit anxiety raising for me, but after some minutes I get more calm. And this happens also when we are when we take care of things and we are committed in what we do. So I was telling you that this is the third webinar. The first two webinars were were focused. The first on self-care practices and positive thinking. There were some suggestions and also two presentations from me and Federica. We will share with you the slides of the previous webinars during this meeting. So you can download them and you can read them, because there will be some links that I will make today. So you can read what I will be talking about also in those slides, so that I don't have to repeat in the same slides the same things, because some of you have already participated. The second one was a more an in-depth view in the more difficult and challenging aspects of your work, especially handling overwhelming emotions, working with people that bear traumatized experiences, and the whole difficulties and lack of structure, lack of sometimes of resources in the environment in which you are active and you work. This one, it is the consequence of the first two, and it is related to how, after the what I wish it was a positive impact the first two webinars had on you, and suggestions, how you can use your resources, and also in difficult conditions, to help the people you are working with, like asylum seekers and or refugees. It depends in which stage of the reception process you are involved, and how you can help them to keep alive the memories of who they were before flying the country, and what they can become. This is a very, very delicate stage, and the people who are witnesses and who can do most are people who work in the front line, the people who are at the first stage of reception. And how this can also be, this process can unfold across different tasks and activities in volunteering, because not all of you are involved in career guidance, or perhaps because most of people you work with, they are not ready, and there are not the conditions for a career guidance, because they are still waiting for their application to be examined. So we will explore how the impact of your attitude and the things that you can integrate in your work can also influence and have a positive influence in the next steps, where these people perhaps and hopefully they will receive a more structured career guidance or vocational guidance service and counseling. Okay, now I will share. We have some slides. So okay. Okay. So this is the project we are bringing forth with Federica Leoni, Creating Bridges project. And these 3 webinars are one of the initiatives of this project. This project was also a consequence, a result of a previous one. I can, let me, okay, it's okay if it's not here, okay. So this project, so it was the consequence, it stemmed from a previous one that was a more formally structured project. It was the Social Self-I project, an Erasmus Plus funded project. It lasted 2 years. I coordinated this project with Aspic Lavoro, a non-profit association, and it was a strategic partnership between 4 partner organizations, namely Insubformación, HDBA, and EOPEP, and Aspic Lavoro, of course, coordinating it, who are involved at different stages and in different roles, all important institutions that are involved in promoting labor and vocational inclusion and integration. Some of them, especially the German one, HDBA, it is the University of Labor Studies of the Federal Employment Agency, the German Federal Employment Agency. And it was an honor for us that they participated, they accepted to be a partner in this project. We shared the three short-term training events where we exchanged practices and knowledge about the systems of reception, all focused in work and career counseling, so labor issues and career counseling. Of course, each country, France, Italy, Greece, and Germany, are at a different stage of development in integrating refugees and migrants. And this was also one of the goals, that of bringing together countries and institutions with different expertise. After 2 years, we have developed and exchanged a lot of knowledge and experience, and some topics among the variety of topics we addressed had to do with the particular needs of both refugees and also career counselors when working with them. And what emerged is that career counselors had sometimes difficulties because these people, due to the experiences they have bared and also sometimes also trauma they have experienced, and also their difficulties in adjusting in the new environment, they had also difficulties in benefiting of this career guidance and career counseling service. So they have as a scope that to address and to find good practices in ameliorating the performance, and not the performance because they are very performant, but the results and the effectiveness of the career counseling encounter, so that can bring good results for both, for the career counselor and also for the person who benefits and receives the counseling. In particular, when we think about career counseling, we think that of a structured process that is provided by an organization that has this mission. But there are many other ways of offering career guidance, or let's say vocational guidance, and helping people to be aware and to recognize their skills, their work experiences, and how they can translate and also transfer those experiences in totally different contexts. This process of translation, and of transformation, it is the most important one because people come from different countries, different cultures, and some activities perhaps they do not even exist. Some activities exist, but not in the place where they live. And most often they feel and that they don't have resources. So helplessness and also hopelessness may arise. So these are the aims of our work together. It's the same. And so I will read you an excerpt from a book by Muhammad Yunus. He's the Nobel Prize in 2006 for peace. A human being comes to this world very well equipped, not only to take care of him or herself, but also to contribute in enhancing the well-being of this planet as a whole. Some have the fortune to be able to explore their potentialities in a certain way, but many others will never have in their life such an opportunity to unfold the special gift they were born with, and the world is thus deprived of their creativity and their contribution. So this is very touching for me. This every time I read this statement, and I think that this is totally true for the people you meet when they arrive on the islands or wherever else you work in field work with as asylum seekers, because people arrive, they have left everything, it belonged to them, and also their social role and their identity, and also in most cases there is a disruption in their identity, and also the difficulties in giving the possibility to all people, not only refugees, but now we are talking about them, to unfold all their potential. It is not only a loss for them that they cannot adjust and create a life and a work. It is also a loss for the societies that received these people. And what is the role of volunteers that perhaps have a different job profile? Because okay, there is the added value of different people, let's say volunteers that may be people that offer language teaching, or also more day-to-day routine activities, also like food and also dress and also organize activities in the community centers. I know that now, especially on the islands, there is still a lockdown. Now we are talking about the situation as it was. Then we will I will share some considerations and reflections on the current situation, how also it is possible to think of something and foster hope for us and for the other people. So other operators working in host center contexts, interpreters, trainers, and can also make a contribution. And this need to reach people that work in field work, it was since from the very beginning of the European project, for me it was a priority. It was not possible at that stage because the structure of the project, it was an exchange between the staff of the organization. So it was most at the policy maker, training curricula, definition stage, and it was very precious. We succeeded in involving people working in reception centers in Mannheim in Germany, and also in Rome, because the training events were held in Rome and in Mannheim and in Bordeaux. But there was it missed this part of the work to convey some suggestions, some ideas, and some practices to people that are involved in volunteering. So it is important that what I will share with you about career counseling, we need to bring it and to adapt it, to contextualize it in the kind of interactions and the kind of activities, also workshops, so that you can share with people. Okay, so it is different than a structured, more formal career counseling. Some of you perhaps they work, because there are some career counseling also initiatives by some organizations in Athens or in Greece and also in other countries. I don't know if in the islands, because perhaps there's not the possibility to work there. So what is important that, so these practices and the experiences I will share, you can reflect on them and reflect, and also if you want to share in our chat some ideas on how they can be linked to your specific condition situation. So if you want to share some information. Now I have the slides, but afterwards we can share in the chat some information about what kind of involvement you have. This can help me also to adapt the webinar to your specific interests. So we said about increasing awareness in identifying, selecting, and transferring some tools, practices, and methods, because it's not possible to apply a tool or a method totally, especially in non-structured situations, but it is possible to take one part that it is applicable in your tasks, in your activity, and you can use it. And also the motivation to reflect upon the complexity of these topics. And a parallel process is that has to do with yourself, not only the people you are helping. Because what I said about recognizing skills, identifying your potential interests, and also how you have used and you are using in your volunteering activity or in other activities you are involved, if you are now back in your country or somewhere else, how all these resources can be treasured and can be transferred in other contexts, in other work environments, in your studies, or in other also life areas of your life. It may seem a little bit simplistic to say, yes, but this we know, this is implicit, that we know what we do and how we do it. It is not always the same. I have a long experience of as a career advisor with people from very different background, with very diversified background, from refugees to managers, and also people going through work career transitions, or from university entering the world of work, or other kind of transitions. Maybe they had a disruption for family or health reasons. And when there is a transition from one also job role or a kind of environment, working environment, to a different one, it's not always so immediate that we recognize that this is a part of a task, but I can use it in another situation. Most people I have worked with need a little bit of work to raise this awareness and to legitimate themselves to do this kind of flexible transferring. So it is also, and I invite you also to reflect upon yourselves, because if to be able to help another person in this process, even with small, very simple interventions, it is very important. I can say it is a prerequisite that you do it with yourself, that we do it with ourselves. This is the slide of the project, and I already introduced. This is the title: Self-Empowerment of Guidance Advisors and Vocational Educational Trainers for the Promotion of Social Inclusion of Refugees, Asylum Seekers, and other adults in career transition. We have included also other people with vulnerability. It was not only exclusively for refugees, but also people. Sometimes there is an overlapping of being a refugee and also having another vulnerability factor. Let's say, for example, health conditions. So among people that you help, there are people who bear also other vulnerabilities. Actually, being a refugee, it is not in itself a vulnerability with respect to work and to being a productive and a valuable person in society. What happens, it is that sometimes our frames and what the frames from where people are come, they are not ready to fit and to give the possibility to people to make use of their resources. It is the opposite. If some of us who come, let's say, who live in a very urbanized town, and they go in a country where it is all agriculture, perhaps we don't have the skills immediately to survive and to be able to integrate in that context. So it is important to reflect on this. So, but I use these words just a convention. It is a conventional way to communicate, even though I am aware that it bears some implicit prejudice. And also this is important. If we have a prejudice, if we have a people in front of us and we have a prejudice and we think that he is low skilled, or perhaps some people are illiterate even in their language. So it needs a work to start again and to help them in the alphabetization in a new language. This happens in the country of their final destination. But what happens in the meantime? So when people stay for a very long time in these these reception centers or in more informal camps, because time passes and people are do not use their skills, their competencies, and this can be very harmful for their possibility to smoothly adapt and adjust later on. So volunteers and people who work frontline have a very, very important role, play an important role in helping also the processes that take place later on. I have articulated the skills and vocational awareness process. Not specifically career guidance, because in a volunteer on an island or somewhere else working with people that they're still awaiting for their application to be examined, they cannot, it's not good to offer a career guidance or a career counseling, because it may raise some expectations. So the kind of work that can be done, it is more in empowering their sense of self. So who I was, what I did, what are my skills, and recognizing this. Otherwise, people, if they lose this feedback from the environment, from social feedback about who I am, what is my role, what is my value, it is very harmful for self-esteem, for also for and it can for their psychological well-being and balance. So skills and vocational awareness process, formal, non-formal, and informal. Formal is that of a career counseling agency, let's say a job center or other organizations that offer this balance of competencies, recognition of qualifications. This is the more formal, but there are specific agencies and people need to be trained to provide this kind of consultation. There is the non-formal, that there are some non-formal job centers or career counseling, maybe also in the non-governmental organizations that offer this kind of vocational guidance, perhaps for children. And this is something hospitable to offer in a way that it is understood that it is not a job center that will find work to people if it doesn't have the possibility to do that. And the informal is that I was talking about earlier, of introducing the activities, recreational activities, training, language teaching on other topics, teaching activities, also educational. There are some also in schools, these informal schools that teach, let's say, also some subjects like mathematics and English language and perhaps something else, perhaps science, to introduce in the discourse the recognition of how people also they learn, how they understand, what they like, what they would like, what are also the dreams of children, of young people for their future. Because it is possible to nourish dreams and the projects of people without creating illusions, of course. And as Plutarch, wrote, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. If we tell me, yes, you go there and you do that, this is very present when working with refugees, because they need this kind of direction, where to go, they need to have an orientation. At the same time, to help them to reinstate or to develop their ability to orient, to guide themselves, because then you will be with them for a short time. Perhaps you will leave earlier, perhaps they will leave. But even in a very, very short time, you can share important experience that they bring with them. So if you kindle a fire of hope, of self-esteem, of awareness that what these people were able to do in their country can be adapted and can be unfolded in the place where they will go to and live. So they can adjust, so that they can create something good for themselves and for society. And also the attitude, so the trust in people's resources, convey this trust. Even if we witness very difficult conditions of these people, you can tell me, but Katerina, you don't have an idea of how are the conditions there. It is especially because they are so difficult, but it is even more important to keep this fire alive. Because it is more difficult to do that after some years or after some months, if people stay in a period of nothingness, without stimuli, without recognition, without thinking about themselves in terms of potential and of capability. And also narrative practices and storytelling is also very important, because it helps people to activate their thought schemes that are positive, that are constructive. So it is also positive as prevention. In the second webinar, I shared some slides about the brain networks and circuits that are activating by positive thoughts, positive experiences, and so that it's important, and that they are also consolidated. So to promote and propose activities where people can narrate something of their achievements, of how it can be also how are the jobs, what are the varied crafts in their country, or something that is also their story of their values. A mentor, a person from their community that has been a mentor. This can be very powerful in making them recall and remember these identity shaping, good and positive and empowering experiences. It seems simple, and it is simple, and it is very powerful. This is something about the cultural mosaic, to recognize multiple identity indicators. This is more for where there is the possibility for more formal career counseling, that we reflected upon the difference also of the matching between the person who provides the help and the guidance and the person who receives. The example is that of the person that is from an agricultural, comes from a country where there is in an agricultural context, and the person who is was raised in an urban area. It needs more work to recognize that the skills that the person that work in agriculture in a place can be transformed and also used. It can be being goal-oriented, or a person that is proactive, or problem-solving. These are transversal skills that it is not important where we apply them. It is important that we do. And it is important to know that we can do this shift. These are some of the difficulties that people face, and perhaps you are have witnessed this, the apathy and the low personal investment. The length of the waiting period is very, very critical. So what can be done in that period, especially also for adults, but also especially for people, for young people and for children. So it is important to foster the sense of responsibility, motivation. Sometimes there is the impossibility to act independently because they depend for everything, and there are not the conditions, and this sometimes it is despite their will. And also this is the low awareness both of the gaps and the potential in terms of qualifications, transferability of skills and knowledge to live and work somewhere else. This is the area where you can make a difference most than in the others. That some conditions at that stage, unfortunately, are the way they are today. We can advocate for things to change. I think this is also very important, not to accept them as given. Also, our attitudes, even not only what we do, but also how we relate with people, it makes a difference, because we are some mirrors for other people on how we consider them, there is a judgment or a prejudice, not only what we explicitly communicate, but also what we implicitly think about them. So if we believe in them, also we are more credible, and this is more impactful for them, for other people. And also limit the label of traumatized, even people that are facing difficult, or they have suffered traumatic experiences. If there is the possibility for a referral to a professional, a practitioner that can provide a kind of help, more professional, it is the first thing to do. Meanwhile, at the same time, it goes together, it is possible in other all informal moments that you share with people to do this very subtle, empowering work of recognizing the capabilities, also explicitly. So if there is a time where people can think of themselves in terms of success, in terms of something they are proud of, and that there are other people that want to listen, because they think, yes, he has so many problems, I only need to address the problems. I need to address the problems. At the same time, it is important to nourish the adult, the functioning part of a person that can take also care of himself. Perhaps not in that moment, but in the future. Okay. So if we keep in mind their resources and capabilities, also helps us not to be overwhelmed, because there is an alternance between moments we are focused on the problem and moments that we are talking about something that it is hopeful, something that it is constructive, and something that it is creative. These are some differences, of course, and also both more formal career counseling and these informal ways must be adapted to the level of education, work experience, the background, personal history and age of a person. It's not to be shared in the same way with all people. There are many differences, but it is important to recognize this. So with people that are more educated, you can use some tools or some activities, propose some activities. With other people, it can be more in the day-to-day, daily routine. And also ask them about what they did until they arrived where they arrived. Okay. This is the cultural mosaic, and it is important because it helps us in people that apparently are very, very different. There may be some commonalities, maybe the age. Sometimes we feel a commonality based on nationality, but perhaps we are very different considering other aspects. Sometimes it is geographical. To people that share some commonalities of region, of territory, or geographical, as I said, also in living in the country or living in a very big town. This, it opens possibility for a common ground, also to meet and to explore these skills, the experiences, and to find a common ground. But it is important also to fill the gap between differences, or sometimes family, religion, interest, let's say women from different cultures, but the gender and also the role in the family, being mothers, it is a very important commonality. So some activities can be shared with subgroups that have some particular commonalities, and they can also be conveyed through something that it is aligned with their interests. Okay, these are no. This is the title is a mistake. These are some of the possibilities to well to how to apply. I think this slide I have already shown that to you. And this is important, that if you have some ideas, then I will, before passing to some tools we have, I want to share with you, we have also shared and work on with in our project. This is an invitation to work your ideas mentally before you produce them materially. Even if things seem apparently very difficult, impossible, if you start working your ideas and thinking how to make them materialize and come true, things, then they develop. We can change situation, even though if people now, some of people you are working with are still in lockdown, you cannot have access, start thinking of what you can offer them to them. So when you will be again ready to meet, you have already prepared something, and this is also very valuable. So every enterprise and every goal must be first mentally created, and also to put the necessary concentrated effort and to open the way to accomplishment. Concentration, present-centeredness, and attention, we have spoken about in the previous webinars, are also very important, because with this attitude to focusing on skills and on positive aspects of the person, we help them to stay concentrated in those also areas of themselves, on those states of themselves. So it helps reducing in the period and the time they perhaps stay in a suffering state of themselves. So there are two theories that are very valuable, both for your target groups you work with, and also for you, for your career and your personal development. That is the theory of Gardner, Howard Gardner, Frames of Mind, the theory of multiple intelligences. There is a link to his website and also a PDF you can download then from the PDF I will send you, where they are presented if you don't know them already. This theory of multiple intelligences, it is very helpful in our case because it teaches us that people, there is not one intelligence. Before there were some standards of intelligence, the IQ, and if people were higher or lower, they were stigmatized and they were sectorialized. But then we understood that that was the tool in itself, that it was biased because it had only some characteristics, some criteria. But this theory, it is very important because it broadens the possibility for people everywhere to recognize that they have many facets of intelligence, and some of them more developed, some are talentful, some other they possess all intelligences. There is not a person that does not have one of these intelligences. One will be auditive, one may be more space in relation to space, one will be more even verbal and language related intelligence. I invite you to read this paper, the article, and also to explore, because playing and working with multiple intelligences, you can recognize and mirror to a person his talent, even if this person is illiterate, because perhaps there has a very an attitude or a talent for the auditory intelligence, a music intelligence, or a person that is more prone to the use of space or the body movement. Okay, and this it helps also to tailor some games and activities where you can help people to use their intelligences, and also to make them aware that there are different ways of being intelligent. And the career theory model is a little bit more sophisticated, but it can also be used, first of all, for yourselves, and also to have an idea also of different attitudes toward the work in different styles that also can help to identify the talent and the potential of each person. So this is I'm sharing with you some slides of my colleague, Gabriela Di Francesco. She was a partner. We collaborated in the project of the social self-I. These slides present a tool that it is a European, the European Commission has developed it. It is free. It is migrant skills. It is a skills profile tool that can be used by anyone, by everybody, and it can be useful in the first stage to see how a profile can be developed. It needs, of course, to have a connection to internet. If you have a community center and people can come there, perhaps together you can compile it, you can fill it in. It is good because it helps people recognize and review their experience, because sometimes they don't say things that they know how that they have experienced, or some work experiences, because they don't remember, they believe they are not important. But this is a way of reconstruct their educational and career history. It is useful also for everybody, not only for migrants. The good thing that it has been translated in many languages. You have the link and you can undergo it yourself and explore how to use it with people. It is a multilingual online. There are many other tools. I have selected a few ones, the ones I have practiced more, but there are many you can adapt in your work. You see there are many languages like Farsi, Pashto, and Somali, Tigrinya, so some languages that it's not easy to find people that can translate and be a language mediator in these languages. These are some transversal skills that have to do so with possible works and activities, not only jobs and different activities. But if we recognize and we make a brainstorming of possible skills, of all our skills, and what we use, what we think are important in the field we have chosen for our studies or for our career, we can then make a shift and observe and see how these skills are present also in people that are in the first stage of their reception, of their reception experience, and how you can recognize them, and how these can be also more developed to become more usable in our society, with institutions, first in the first needs at the first stage, and then they will further development in something more refined according to the direction each person will take in his life or her life. So communicate, establish relationship, learning from one's experiences, learning from other people's experiences. It is also possible to select some that are more common, more transversal, and to work on them. People can bring some narrative, some experience from their life, positive, that can also be shared, that it is also something that other people also can benefit. I will tell you something very briefly about a case let me see, perhaps is this, no, no. I thought it was the administrator who was writing me something. Now, I will take a little bit, 5 minutes, and then we will have some time for questions, if there are questions, or exchange some comments in the chat. I'll take 5 to 7 minutes more. This is a case that I'm very happy to share with you very briefly, because it is emblematic of what I have shared with you until now. Because it gives us an example, provides an example of how helping people to concentrate and focus on their resources can help them also better their psychological conditions, their well-being, and also to start again to be masters of their lives, even if they are in a state of need for other aspects. This person is a male. He was aged 40. He was from an African country. I have omitted some details, of course, for privacy. And I had a very short time, only a few sessions with him available. One purpose was that of collecting his history, his previous history, so for preparing a certification for his application. But the person was very, very suffering and had a very deep depression. He was also under pharmacological treatment. And this kind of work, it was an activity within a network with the physicians, the lawyers, translator, and mediator. So it was a very well organized equipe in this center, clinical center for migrants. What I want to focus here, it is how focusing and bringing into this discourse the resources of this person and inviting him to narrate his history in terms of his work experience, how he did the things he did, to teach us something very specific of his work. It was for him very, very positive and very helpful. There was also a cultural mediator. It was a linguistic mediator, because she was a woman. She was not African. She was Italian, actually. But so sometimes we were talking in Italian, sometimes in French, also to stimulate the person to use the knowledge of Italian he had. What was important that this person gradually, by recollecting this experience, he recalled and he started remembering that he was a person that had a leadership position in a small firm. He had a small enterprise, and he had some people working for him in the past. And so asking him, and with interest, to tell us how he organized the work and what were his values, and who was the person who mentored him to learn this specific craftsmanship. It helped him to start recalling and starting rebuilding his self-esteem. It was something so immediately that it was amazing for me. I was surprised as well. If I kept asking him about all the difficulties he had undergone before arriving to me, to getting to know him, I don't think if I would have helped him so much, because he already had a psychiatric help and another context where he could work on the more traumatic experience. It was important to offer also the possibility to build on this, because he started a new project, started thinking and about, I have this capability, I have some values, I accepted some things, but I didn't accept some things because I have some values. I'm a person with dignity. And for people who lose everything, to reinstate this sense of dignity or to build this sense of dignity is one of the first things to do. So in this way, the career counseling and also this helping process is a sort of Socratic maietic process, because we don't add anything to the person. We help people unfold what already is present in them. And this also entails all the experiences of the person, not only the work experiences, even interests, even also school experience, etc. There are many resources and you can make use. And also, if you want to write to me to ask me, I can send you something more specific, or also give you also a short advice by email if you have a specific need. I imagine and hope that there are teachers among you and people that are involved also in educational work, but all are valuable, all kind of activities are valuable. And I'm very happy that there are many people, 20 people present that are interested. This is the last tool that I will present to you. These are the competence cards, or the Bertelsmann Stiftun competence cards. And there is the link also to have more in-depth information, and also to download them, and you can print them and use them. It is very important about these cards, it is that they have graphic, visual um, symbols, and in writing in many languages, also non-European languages. You can use them. They are they require a little, I don't know, a level of education for people to use them. But you can take them as an example. You can transform them and use something different with pictures, or maybe also with photographs and with other kind of visual stimuli, for people to recognize their past experiences and their skills, what they like, what they would like to do. And all what was said, was told today, what is the underlying philosophy? It is to recognize this actualizing tendency that each person has a force, that has a direction, that is positive, and it goes toward the realization of self. Even if people do not succeed in going or in staying where they are at that moment in the country where there is the reception center, or even if they go to another country, or some of them, unfortunately, or maybe for them it's not unfortunately, they are sent back in their countries. Even this, it happens. If you give them the possibility to be confident in themselves, they can also start a new life even if they go back. So I think that this kind of attitude and this kind of integration in your activities of these tools and this skills-oriented way of working is valuable in any case and in any direction their life takes, and being, of course, authentic. And this is also going also to the Eastern wisdom. This is by the Indian poet and Nobel Prize Rabindranath Tagore, The True Essence of Life. It describes the tendency to realize oneself as a desire to reveal oneself with vigor through one's life and activities. So if we are also, the way we perceive people is influenced by this kind of way of thinking, I think that also our way of being in front of people changes. So we can also, this is also conveyed in how we think of them, how we respond to them. And this is for you, and this is an exercise that I use with psychologists, with my colleagues, with people of different professions and practitioners in different sectors, for a self-recognition, and also for linking tasks, specific settings. I have adapted this for you, but and so to make, let's say, volunteering activity, how skills can be identified and how can be linked to different targets, groups you are working with. So you have experience with the elderly, or you have experience with young people, and how this can be linked with other knowledge you have, or perhaps your education. So everything, it is flexible, and everything can be reconfigured. You can have a reconfiguration so that you can make use of everything you are learning, even with a high price, because it is a very demanding activity, the one you are involved with. So what I have learned, what I have acquired, because we give for granted that a task is a task, but in each single task there are many skills, there are many things that we know, and many possibilities to use these skills and these capabilities and abilities in other contexts. And also the values, the ethics, and the good practices. So in the case of my client, let's say the people I counseled, it was the values that someone was very trusted him, and I gave him all the knowledge so that he created his own firm. And in your case, it is important because the good practices, the values, and the ethics are the most important resources that will help you to thrive and to build a career, and also to develop your career and your life the way you want to. And so this is, you can add some rows and then to write. This can be transformed and used also with people, with other people. But this is the schema, how it can be structured, but you can propose something, what you have learned in that occasion, what you have done, etc., etc. And the main thing is having a purpose, a project, and actualizing will for us, for the people we help, for everybody. So to foster this sense of purpose and will helps also to overcome the enormous difficulties that people face when they leave their home and their country, and they go through all that we know they are going through. So now I will stop. You will have the other slides, also this comparison between soft skills and life skills. If you do not want to tell them about soft skills because it was too much, too Western style concept, you can teach them about life skills, and that because they are at the end they are the same, but it is the context where we use them that is different. So now I will stop this presentation because we have already completed the time available, and I would welcome some questions or some comments or whatever you want to share in the chat. Nermer Iskandar is asking if career advisors use specific tools and methods for career guidance. Yes, they do. They also may use these tools that are from European projects that but there are some methods and tools that are more structured, and in these methods you can integrate also other tools and other techniques and methodologies. If you want, Iskandar, if you want to send me in an email, I can give you some references. There are some references in the presentation, but I can give you something more specific to career guidance and counseling. There are specific tools and methods. There is a variety of theories. But what I shared with you was something more reduced to small parts, so that you can also use them even though you are not providing a structured career guidance. And sometimes you can use them in very short and informal situations. Thanks to you. So at the same time, you will find in the platform now the slides of the previous webinars and also this webinar, and there are some other links in the presentation, and also you have my contacts, so you can write to me if you have a more specific question or reflection, and I will be very glad to answer to you. So this is I'm sharing in the chat the link to the website of Aspic Lavoro. Well, yes, contacts. Okay, this is my, no, it's not, no, it is info incontri di psicoterapia.it. Okay, this is okay. I have shared also the link to the page, to the project page of Aspic Lavoro, where you can find a lot of resources, articles, also of our partners from France, from Germany, about career guidance and labor inclusion. So you will find a lot of resources there. I have just picked up some of those I thought it could be more of interest for you. And if there are other questions or a feedback, I would also welcome a feedback, both through Indigo, but also directly. It will help me to always ameliorate and do always a better work, to be more helpful. And both me and Federica, since there is this project Creating Bridges, we welcome suggestions and also invitations and proposals for some collaboration or for offering some specific topic, a seminar. So please write to us, and we can discuss about it. So, or also to give you some more resources or more ideas and guidelines. Also for your organizations, if they would like to organize something also on site when it will be possible. There is also the feedback form. All we have now shared, I understand that now that people, there is the lockdown and all this social distancing is more challenging, but it is possible to share things even respecting those distances for the moment. I'm confident, I trust, I'm hopeful and faithful that things will have already changed and will change in better soon. So if there aren't other questions or feedback, I will wait a couple of minutes and then we can end the webinar. I think the webinar will be available in YouTube, in the channel of Indigo Volunteers. Also the ones are available, so you can also share them with other colleagues or people that may be interested. I wish you all the best and have a good summer, a nice time, and I wish you all the best for your life, for your endeavors, and be always blessed. Thank you for being here with me for this time and for the interest you have shown for this topic. Okay, bye.